You don't insult anybody here. Okay.
So now it is being recorded. Yeah. You had asked a question about why people join. Raj, you are telling us something.
No, I was just saying that, I mean, you're right. You had already mentioned the fact that there's something called love jihad, which, is kind of poo-pooed by the more so-called educated classes here. But, there are these things that are occurring. They're all occurring under the radar. And most of the time, the average Hindu just thinks, oh, this must be just some right-wing nuts talking about, the usual things. And so it tends to be kind of people don't take it seriously, just like they didn't take anything that was happening in Kashmir seriously till it actually happens. And then even now, it's taken 32 years for the actual people to actually even realize it. And we have been trying to talk about it, but our voices were very feeble compared to the overall kind of background that was being provided by the rest of the media, So in Indian media, you were seeing lots of, whenever they talked about Kashmir, it was as if Kashmir is only Muslims, and therefore you only need to talk about Muslims. And then even with respect to Muslims, it was always tried to portray as if India is doing some kind of horrible things in Kashmir. And that's both by the US press as well as the Indian press. And here we were trying to, and during the time when this whole thing was occurring, I remember, while I was in USA, we were trying to. I'm hearing something else.
Yeah, I think somewhere the TV or something is on.
Okay.
Hey, Raj, what you said is absolutely right. Raj, what you said is absolutely right. There are two more things I will say. You see, in India, basically, and all over the world, generally, Muslims are basically, Islam is basically shown as a Shanti Priya religion. Shanti Dut, I mean, today, even in a general Indian, when you talk to, they don't believe that Muslims are like, Islam is like this. I won't say Muslim as such. Actually, we do not know the Islam as a religion. We don't know at all. And what we have been told about Islam, and what even as on today also in the TV and in the media we talk about, the true color of Islam is not being told to us. And none of us want to actually read what is written in Quran. None of us want to read that.
And it's not just the Quran; it's the Quran and the Hadiths you have to read.
Absolutely. Quran along with Hadith. Hi Mukul, how are you, my dear?
Hi Mukul.
Mukul, by the way, we are recording this, huh?
So it's interesting, Jaidev, you put this. So I was trying to understand when this whole thing was happening in Kashmir.
Hi Mukul.
I was trying to figure out what is happening with this, why is it happening, and what is the reason. And you're right, to a large extent, it has something to do with Islam, and Islam being really a political religion. And so I started reading up books on Islam. There was a very good book that I read, which is called Why I'm Not a Muslim by Ibn Warraq. That's Warraq. And he's written a very nice book explaining what is it, why Islam has been the way it is. And so, and the fact that a lot of people get kind of fooled by saying, oh, well, Islam says, that innocence, killing an innocent for Muhammad is equivalent to killing, even killing one innocent is like killing thousands of people. So you're told these type of things about Islam, And
Is that in the Quran, Raj?
Yeah, it's in the Quran somewhere. But then the question is, what is considered innocent?
Yes.
So according to the Quran, it's saying innocent are, that should never be killed based on the Quran. But then you and I are not considered innocent because
we are considered kafir.
You're considered a kafir. You're not considered So it's all in the understanding of all the smaller, the finer details. And that's where most Hindus get totally befuddled by it. And you really need to study the religion very carefully to understand it, and to understand why over thousands of years we've been constantly being, being hit by Islamic invasions and being hit by.
Yeah.
I mean, why would these people are just people like you and me? But they're, I would say all these Muslims are just no different from you and me. The only difference is their ideology, and the ideology completely. And there's the moderate Muslim who doesn't know all the details and who's performing the usual rituals, and he's normal, right? He doesn't.
Raj, I'll disagree with the normal Muslim. Does
No,
not
no.
know.
Let me go further on that.
Okay.
And then there's the very virulent type who know the Islam in full and who practice it to the. These are the jihadists, right? But the problem with the moderate Muslims is that in the end they always lose out to the jihadists, So whether you take Afghanistan, for example, Afghanistan was a very, very moderate country. People were living in very moderate lifestyles. People would go around in miniskirts and all that. There was no problem till Islamic Jihad came, and once that comes, now you see the situation that it's in. And this has happened time and again to every place, including Kashmir, And
Iran was a
But see, the Kashmir was also a political situation, right? It was also between the two countries.
All these are made political because
no political situation.
Wherever Islam is there, it becomes political.
So but see, starting with the 47 partition, it became a political situation, right? Which was very badly handled by Nehru and Indira Gandhi.
Correct. But I mean, what I'm trying to say is that it was the only Muslim majority state in India at that time, right? And yes, it was badly handled by Nehru and all that. But what I'm trying to say is the basic seed of it is in Islam itself, is in the fight with Islam. If the same thing had happened anywhere else in India, nothing would have happened. We wouldn't have had these type of problems. It's only because Islam feels that whenever it's in a majority, it has to rule over, it has to be Islamized. That's where the problem arises. So this whole concept of I feel India is purely secular only because of Hindus.
But yet we are not truly secular either. We are pseudo-secular.
I agree. I mean, whatever secular. Right.
Ramu, I'll slightly differ. Pseudo-secular is basically because of the so-called secular brigade are pseudo-seculars. What Raj said, today India is basically a secular country. See, Hindus are basically secular. Whether you are atheist, whichever God you pray, I mean, it makes no difference to you and me. I pray some God, you pray some God. Whether Ravi does not believe in God, for example, makes no difference to any one of us. But it makes difference to Abraham religion, that their religion, their God is the greatest.
Jews are not quite like that.
Pardon?
Jaydev, Jews are not quite like that.
All of them are like this. Christian, all Abraham.
No, Jews are not
Abraham
quite like that.
Because they also faced the Holocaust, so that is why today they are not like that.
They face the Holocaust and they'll keep bringing it alive. And as you said in the video, that we have to somehow keep this alive. But Jews are not just that. If you don't pray like this, you have to pray like
this.
Christianity has come from where? See, let's start the thing basic. Christianity come from where? Christianity come from there. Islam came from where? Came from Christianity. Other than Hindu, all religion basically believe that their God is the or religion which has come out of Hinduism, like some Buddhism or Jainism and all. They feel that their God or their thing is the ultimate thing. America, how is America formed? Basically, Red Indians were killed by the same thing. Either you convert, or you hand over, or you are killed. See,
no, Jaydev, that's not correct. Jaydev, that's not correct.
It is correct.
No, Jaydev, that's not correct. Let me be clear.
See, now you tell something.
See, Americans are very economically driven. Today,
yes. Go 300
years
back,
always.
Years back.
I just finished reading my son's US history book completely. It starts from the beginning. The lot of the American Indians were killed all for economic purposes. And let me tell you, the US was a horrible country in the 19th century.
Even that way, Hindus also call for economic purpose. If you don't convert zakat,
no, they didn't say you have to convert. They didn't say you have to convert. They didn't say you have to convert.
Property others you have killed. I mean, that way you can always argue to economical purpose, yeah.
No, but they didn't bring religion at all into the picture.
Today, there are 3-4 years back, the Supreme Court, your US Supreme Court thing. That law still exists in your in US Constitution. That
The Constitution is very the strict separation of state and religion. That's not correct. Jaydev, you're wrong on this basis.
Anyhow, Ramu, we'll have this discussion. You and me will have one more video on this. And like
Yes.
me and Raj are having, you and me will video and we'll argue out that on video and I'll put it on YouTube and let people decide what it is. I will forward you a lot of videos, lot of literature on this.
I mean,
Go through that.
yeah,
Let us not divert the thing right now. Let's talk about Islamism. Ramu, what you said and what Raj said. You see, it is not 47. This was the 7th exodus of Kashmiri Hindus from Kashmir. Me and Raj talk about this in our video for very, very little time. But if you see the history of Kashmir, it is the 7th exodus of Kashmiri Hindus. It started from 1389, where the first Muslim ruler came in Kashmir. And the last so-called was 8990, which continued till about 2010, 2012, 2013. Or maybe 2015, 2016.
To add to what Jaydev is saying, Yona Raja in the Raj Tarangni talks about, for example, the one in the first exodus around 1400, around 1390, and
1389 to 1413. That's the year they talk about.
So he talks about in the lake, like they killed so many Hindus that the sacred threads, the weight of all the sacred threads together was something like 36 kilograms that was recovered from that. This is what is written in Raj Tarangni by the contemporary historians at that time. Now a lot of Hindus oh well, this is exaggeration of a guy who is who's obviously thinking in Hindu terms. But the thing is, you find similar statements in Baharistan, which is a Persian chronicle that was written by Persian scholars who were hired by these kings themselves, right? And they've written in Persian exactly similar kind of descriptions, of how Hindus were mass converted, And so anyway, what I'm trying to say is this is not anything new. It has been occurring for around 1,000 years, and the fact that the 1947 situation was obviously mishandled by Nehru, and on top of it, including Article 370.
Mishandled, Raj, mishandled is a euphemism. He completely screwed around. He completely screwed around.
Ramu, what you say is right. But before I go to 1947, thereafter, I have a lot of points to speak about today. But before that, I will ask you one question. How many Hindus do you think in last 1,000 years were killed?
How many Hindus?
10 crore. What approximately 8 to 10 crore minimum. Hindus were killed. If you talk about per day, 1,000 years talk about 10 crore per day. How many Hindus are killed? If you continue every day, you kill 300 plus Hindus. 300 plus Hindus. Then in 1,000 years, you can go to 10,000. 10 crore. Every day, 300 Hindus. Every day. That is the figure. If you 1,000 years into 365, if you divide by 10 crore, you will come out with 300 plus Hindus killed every day. That is the thing what happened.
How
and
reliable?
Still we want to say that nothing has happened.
How reliable is this?
There are many figures on that. Again, see, there are many figures on that. You can always question it. Because there is no actually figure available, authentic figure available. There is estimation. It is estimation by all. 8 to 10 crore. And there are cases, there are schemes where they say overnight about
I know it's a
10,000,
large number, but these.
Yeah, these are things you'll. So there's this guy, Francois Gautier, is trying to create a Hindu Holocaust museum. And he's talked about
in Pune is creating.
And so I think that would be the first step. For most problem with most Hindus is that there's a denial of it, first of all, because we've been fed this rosy history. We have not been given all the detail. So we have been all the unpleasant facts that are there in our history, which you'll see in other history books like the R.C. Majumdar and all these. They mention the history as it was. And these are history that has been actually been recorded to a large extent, history that has been passed on to us from Itihas, from people, from word of mouth as well, But there's a lot of, it's pretty obvious that there has been major damage. You can see that anyway. You look at all your temples like Somnath and all that, they have been razed to the ground. So there's reminders to tell you that this has happened. It's just that, our history books we have whitewashed this whole thing. And the reason we have done that is especially because of the Congress rule, because they believe that unpleasant parts of history should not be told, otherwise it'll
no, Raj, that is not the reason. That is not the, that's what
I heard.
One minute, let me complete this. Raj, that is what has been argument given to us, unpleasant thing we don't want to say. But the fact remains that the Muslim appeasement started by Gandhiji in 1920, and thereafter he continued, and Congress mastered that art, and from the Congress every other political party learned that art. And
I heard from 1947 till 1969, all education ministers in India were Muslims. Is that correct?
110%. Yes, you are right.
And so they always glorified the Mughal rule. A lot of the history about the Cholas, Pandyas, others were all in the back pages in the history book are never taught.
Ramu, I'll tell you one thing. Forget about Congress. Even Modi, when it comes, the Prakash Javadekar, the education minister, was very proudly said, हमने कोमा भी चेंज नहीं किया. You see, that is our culture. That is the way we have been brought up, and we feel very happy. The people like me and Mukul, of course, me and Mukul keep talking a lot of things. Yeah, Mukul, by the way, we are recording this. So before you say anything,
the resistance to change is very strong in Indians.
No, right. because we feel, see, like I see BJP, when you talk about, even today I was going through a lot of literature and yesterday night I sent a lot of things to Mukul. You see, Vajpayee government, when you talk about, is a BJP government, because it's exactly like Congress government. There's no different. Absolutely, there's no different. Modi government is different. So Modi was the first term, he did not do anything. Now second term onward, he started doing it. When he got the control, first term he was very, very careful, a lot of things. All the major change, if you realize, that came in the second term, when after saying he got slightly higher majority, and so he started doing a lot of things in second term. Even that farmers agitation, farmers law, he took it back. And last 2 years, if you say, he has not done any major change which me and you would like to do it for reversing a lot of things what was done earlier. So there are certain issues, there are certain, what you say is right, change is going to be difficult, people don't want to change and all, but thing will happen. What this movie has done, Kashmir File, basically, the way I look at it, it has created a movement, it has created a lot of awareness, and people have started now talking about it. You see, till 1914, I remember when I went to even France, people used to ask me about Hindu, Muslim and all those things and things like that. I used to say, look, I'm an Hindu, but I'm a secular. I've got a lot of Muslim friends also, friends of mine. Now, why do I have to say so? Why am I not saying I'm Hindu, I'm secular? I mean, why do I have to say that I've got a Muslim friend to say so? I'm sure many of you must be saying so in America. Like, for example, I remember Modi gave one interview to BBC. When he says, I was asked a question, he said, yes, I'm a Hindu, I'm a nationalist, so I'm a Hindu nationalist. Kitna babal ho gaya tha Indian TV. Arre baap re. Kitna babal ho gaya tha TV. Why do I have to say that I'm a Hindu? Why am I afraid or shy of saying that I'm Hindu? And today, after 2014, actually this has changed. Till then, none of us, nobody could say that proudly. Kashmir File wouldn't have come out if BJP government was not there and Modi was not this strong. It wouldn't have got released.
But one thing I really appreciate about Modi, how he removed Article 370 in no time. Before I used to read how it cannot be done and this and that and all that, right? And the partition of Kashmir into at least 2 parts. I think that's a great thing that he did, and the way he stood up to China.
Absolutely masterstroke.
That was, and the way he stood up to China was really very good. Now China has realized.
Chinese foreign minister came here and he was asked to meet Modi. He said, no, sorry, I don't want to meet you. He was politely declined the appointment with Modi. Ravi, sorry.
I got a question for you guys. Will that the 370 decision stick if for some reason Modi loses election and somebody else comes into power?
It cannot be brought back. It cannot be brought back.
No?
It cannot be brought back.
Why?
What prevents that?
Because that requires, amendment to the constitution and cannot be done.
So the thing is,
370 and 35A was brought very quietly. Like, for example, during emergency, the secular word and was also introduced in the constitution very, very quietly without any
Socialist,
voting and
secular, socialist, secular.
socialist secular, absolutely. And what is secular is not defined at all. What is minority is not defined at all in constitution. Constitution itself, as per me, and a lot of people like me, I can add Mukul also in that because you three people, I really don't know your
brainwashed him.
views.
Mukul,
No,
Mukul ka to
you can add
kidhar bhi
Mukul
tha.
because you're brainwashed.
not that. We feel,
Yes.
we feel, actually, I can blame, I mean, brainwash Mukul, amount of bullshit which I get from Mukul, even Manisha and Sujata only knows. And I mean, every day I get bullshit from him generally. Whenever I talk to him, if I speak for half an hour, 15 minutes is bullshit by him and asking me to keep quiet. Be
You
quiet.
let
Here
him
also
speak for 15 minutes, Jaydev.
So you see, our constitution itself is anti-Hindu. The way I look at the constitution itself is anti. It's not
Okay,
secular.
Jaydev, I have a simple question. So
Yeah.
somebody asks you, what is Hinduism? How will you explain?
Hinduism is a way of life. It is defined by even Supreme Court. Hinduism not a religion; it's a way of life.
Okay, but what does that mean?
The right way to lead the life. Right way. And dharma actually is not religion.
How to conduct your life.
Absolutely. How to lead your life truthfully, like a father, what are duties? You're doing your duty properly or not? As a brother, as a friend, as a mother. No, what you're supposed to do? Are you giving back to the society? The whole thing of leading your life for
Just a
you and
minute.
me and for everybody.
Just a minute. Ramu, if you want to know a little more about that basic rudimentary and at a very elementary level, watch this serial called Ramayana by Ramanan Sagar.
I heard about it, yeah.
You see if you can get it. It's a very easily available link on the YouTube. You go through it, and there the issues as they keep coming up are identified, and then what is wrong with it and how to go about it in the right way is defined.
Okay,
And
but
one
while
thing
on the topic, I must say that I have read a very good book, Understanding Hinduism by Rao. I don't know his first initials. It's an excellent book that talks about Hinduism. Doesn't talk anything about prayers, anything. He talks about everything, the holy book of Hinduism and so many other things. It's an excellent book on Hinduism, and that is something that I am recommending to a lot of people here to read about it. I learned a lot of things from it.
Right. I mean, things like, just even the term Hinduism gives you the impression that it is some kind of belief system, which it is not, it's just a self-inquiry, and there are many means. We don't have one book, we have like a library of books.
Exactly. He explains all these things very clearly.
Right. So, and we don't have any fixed dogmas. It's just you and yourself, how you have all these different methodologies given to you. You're given lots of hints on how to go about finding your true self, but it's all up to you to find it out. And nobody can tell you what is the right way, what is the wrong way. They can just say, these are broadly speaking the ways you can try to do some inquiry of your own self, but that's about it, And that's the beauty, I think, of Hinduism. It's not a very
not a manual.
It's not a manual.
See, the way I look at it, Hinduism
considered as a
itself,
manual.
Ramu, Hinduism itself is a wrong word. Sanatan Dharm is right.
Right.
Correct. See, the word Hinduism apparently came from how one Swami explained at Chinmaya Mission that the Persians doesn't have the word sir. When they crossed the Sindhu River, instead of sir, they said her. So that's how the word Hindu came and Hinduism came. He says in the Vedas, in any of our holy texts, the word Hindu never appears. Hindu and Hinduism never appears.
So we are the follower of Sanatan Dharma, not Hinduism.
Sanatan Dharma, eternal way of living, eternal way of ritual living.
Aryavrat.
Yeah, I mean Aryavrat, but and Sanatan Dharma, I think, is more the way we
correct way to describe the way we are.
So that's how the word Hindu came.
You see,
And
basically,
when the Hindus were slaughtered, they called us Hindu Kush. And that's how they called us Hindu Kush Mountains.
So
there's another person, James Frawley, before he used to write a lot about it, he changed his name to an Indian name. So before he was James Frawley, he did a lot of research.
James or David Frawley?
Maybe David Frawley. I forgot. This is about 30 years back. I read a lot of his writings.
No. Then it is maybe James
Yeah.
Frawley. Then different people.
Ramu,
I don't know. Maybe I forgot Frawley, but he later
Okay.
changed his to an Hindu name, and he has written a lot on this subject. How about Hinduism, the slaughter of Hinduism, the Muslim invasion, and so on. How Prithvi Raj Chauhan's biggest mistake of pardoning that invader 27 times. I forget the name of the ruler.
Absolutely. And Ramu, like in Sanatan Dharma, basically, like what you talk about now, we have four marga, Gnan marga, Hat marga, Bhakti marga, and thing. So for us, actually, anything what you do, which is the correct way of doing it, you will get the Almighty here. You will.
Okay.
You will
Hey,
reach
Jaidev.
what?
Hey, let's say hello to Shekhar and Mukul Mathur.
Yeah,
Hey,
Shekhar
Shekhar.
also joined. Yeah, hi.
Oh,
how are you?
Hello everyone.
And-
Hello.
And Mukul and Shekhar, one thing I must say, I'm recording this thing. So before you say anything which unparliamentary, please be careful. Please be careful.
Yeah.
Basically,
speaker
you
will
can't.
erase it.
Abuse Jaidev.
The speaker will erase it.
And with the threat that I may upload it on
Because
YouTube also. This
He is the only one who will get bad words.
But Abba Jaidev, you did a very good job by doing that video on Kashmir. It's really nice. Razdan
no, I did two videos. Which video are you talking about? Me and Raj or before that?
with Raj.
Yeah, actually, I like Jaidev's first video also.
Hello, hello Raj. How are you? You changed a lot here.
No,
All
second video came out so well because of Raj. I'm telling you,
Yeah,
and everybody has
100%.
appreciated Raj.
I fully agree with you.
And
fully
not because
agree.
of me. It is not because of me, it's because of Raj.
In spite of you.
Absolutely. no, but Mukul, I tell you, I had a discussion with Harsh Rai. Harsh Rai spoke to me on this.
Ah.
And then I complained to him. Our BITS group, I had put the thing. There's nobody, no remark whatsoever. Then Harsh Rai said he will put it, so then somebody will look at it. No remark, nothing, no comment, nothing.
I know,
Before you guys came to the meeting, Jaidev and I were alone, and I told him that he should stand for election, MP or something like that. Maybe an education.
I said,
No, wait.
I require
No.
5 crore rupees. Give me 2 to 5 crore, I'll repeat.
There is a better place. Ravi, who's your favorite godman? That fellow who owns that island?
Oh, yeah, Nityananda, Kailasa guy.
No, don't tell me you're comparing me with him, yeah. Come on, yeah. Where I'm better off there. Come on, yeah. Yeah,
Yes,
Mukul, yeah. You are hitting me below the belt.
No.
Abhi
We
maine
want
bola
him to-
गाली मत दो जाए. Don't start this, yeah.
Don't take it.
Hey,
That way. We want him
Hey,
removed
Mukul,
from
this is
there.
being recorded.
He's no
Mukul,
good.
this is being
He's no
recorded.
good. I know that fellow is no good. Jaidev is a better alternative to that.
He's illogical.
Much
I'm
better.
not that illogical. Come on.
I agree.
Hey, but I'll tell you one thing. Segueing into that, it is people like Swami
Achha,
Nityananda
you're-
and people like such fake godmen who give a very big bad name to our religion. And that is another.
Babu.
Yeah,
Hey,
that's another
you
drawback
guys
that
are
has come.
you guys are
you don't
deviating.
see-
You guys are
Yeah, you don't
deviating
see-
from
okay,
what
fine.
you start.
Let's come back to that. No, one more topic.
But talking
Ramu,
about no, Jaidev, this is important because what has happened is a lot of people say, "Hey, see Swami Nityananda, see Swami this guy, that guy. What fraud is this? In the name of religion, what kind of money they are making, how they are looting
Tell
people
me,
and so on."
Ramu, tell me which religion does not have this? You talk about
Huh?
Christianity. Let's talk about Christianity.
No.
There's
he
so
will
much
talk.
Christianity has
so
got
much-
other issues. All the fathers start engage in sex.
Child abuse.
You know?
I mean, the rape of none and all.
All the bishops
so
are in-
rampant.
All the bishops are into sex.
Islam. The Maulvis are making money. Not only making money.
But see, I'll tell you, even if they are making money, raking money, or whatever it is, but it is not so much highlight in the press like this, like how I see up with Swami Nityananda and others.
Because we Hindus, we are very good in cursing ourselves. We want to tell the world how bad we are.
Yeah.
Because we are not proud of our religion, we are not proud of our culture, we have not been told how good we were or we are.
In fact, if you're religious in India, I remember you're considered as a prehistoric, behind
Absolutely.
times. You're not modern.
Today,
What prayer? What?
but Ramu, I'm happy to say that today the things are changing.
You know.
today in Gujarat school, Gita is going to be taught.
Hey, by the way, Gita was there for me also at the Kendriya Vidyalaya High School.
But it's
Right
not after
through
that.
11th.
Yeah, Kendriya Vidyalaya, the Sanskrit, which was that the motto of that, it was protested that it is not secular. Akashwani, Satyam, Shivan, Sundram, TV, it was removed because it was not secular.
I mean,
That was the
this
thing,
whole
yeah,
thing
that is where we are.
Right. And I feel like I strongly feel that Sanskrit should be really brought back into our.
Yes.
I mean,
Correct.
that's the basis
I
of our,
agree.
right. And it's not just in terms of religion, but in terms of all our cultural values.
Correct.
We have
Correct.
values.
Ramu, in our own
100%.
Pilani group, BITS group, we all are educated, doing very well, BITS Pilani and all so-called intellectual people and all. When we talk about that surgery or any of the Ayurveda and all, where is from Indian culture and Indian Sanskriti, people make fun of it.
Right. And
Vimana
but
Shastra. There's something called Vimana Shastra.
I saw a demonstration of Vimana Shastra here at Chimya Mission. Somebody came and see what they did is they interpreted the sutras and explained it correctly, created a scale model. And we said, okay, we don't want to test it in India because no, you won't believe it. So they had it tested at JPL.
Absolutely.
And how well it functioned and so on. But I'll tell you one thing, at some point you have to say, okay, fine, they did all those things, glorious, all those things will continue the tradition. But today, compared to the last 200 years, we have fallen far behind. And
not 100,000 years.
200 years, last 200 years, I mean, no major innovation has happened. For example,
and the reason, Ramu, I think the reason for that is, and this is my own feeling, is because we are trying to ape the West rather than try to understand through our own inner strength of our own culture. Actually, there's a lot we can get back. It's not just going back into the past, but using our Sanskriti to actually build a better India for ourselves, in the future.
Raj, that aping the West starts initially with for better material comforts. You want better Western kind of comforts of so on and so forth, right?
So, for example,
okay. Mukul, go ahead.
I was going to just add one thing.
Think,
this yoga, which yoga has become now a big thing in the West, right? In India, when it was in the 60s, when people were doing yoga, most of the people who would do this, you'd be kind of, most of the average educated Indians would say, oh, yeah, this is like some superstitious thing.
60, when Yoga International Day was announced in India, all opposition said that this is not a correct thing. This is we are saffronizing the yoga. I mean, in India, everybody said so. All opposition said so.
Just a minute. Have any of you guys read Rajiv Malhotra?
Yes, I have.
I've read portions of it.
He's absolutely right. He's absolutely right.
You got to hear him out, and then you'll have a lot of churning of thoughts in your mind how things are going on.
Right. So
I mean, Mukul, when I said Indians ape the West for material comforts, you were disagreeing with me.
No, I was not disagreeing. I was going back further.
You're doing like this, so I thought, maybe.
I know. I said I want to take a time out. What I wanted to add is that
this is a symbol for timeout.
My other hand is holding the phone.
Use your phone like this and say.
Phone pakad ke baitha hai.
Jayadev is holding the right thing.
Americans, I agree that because they are early morning for them, for us.
Jayadev is a ringmaster, no? No, what I wanted to say is that if you want to go further back beyond why do we like material things, it is not that in earlier times we didn't enjoy material things. Everybody lived a material life. But because of Mr. Macaulay, who disconnected our education and cultural values so that they could work, they could rear a task force of Indians who would think like them and make them subjugate to the British. That was the main purpose. Macaulay said that I have
Mukul.
traveled in South India. He traveled basically in South Madras presidency. I have traveled all over the villages. He gives the number of villages he goes to. And he says, I have not found an illiterate person. And they have a wonderful system of education. And if you think that you can dominate these people, you're absolutely wrong. The only way to dominate them is to break down their cultural values.
Mukul,
And it starts from there.
Mukul, I'll add one more thing. I'll add one more thing. Why was Congress formed?
Yeah. It was a club to
Congress was formed basically
safety
by
wall.
Hume.
Safety wall.
Not safety wall. The purpose was basically to get Indians trained and intelligent Indians get enrolled in that ICS and Army and Police. IC and Police. So that is how they could control India. If Indians had not supported them or they did not get it, then they couldn't have controlled India. One, like Mukul said, one is a cultural domination, elimination of all the values and everything, number one. And number two, the education system was set to get this. And Congress was basically formed. The purpose of, if you see the initial document of Congress, why Congress was formed, was basically for this. And they got Gandhi, Nehru, and all, so that Congress also can be used as a safety valve.
Well,
And that continued.
You have deviated a lot from your original topic of the day.
Yes, I'm coming back to that now. Let me add one more. Give you some more fuel. Raj, are you aware of it? Abdullah, Farooq Abdullah.
Yes.
You and me both feel that they is one of the main responsible person for that 89-90 genocide, right?
Right.
You know, now, Vajpayee, when he was a prime minister, he was considered to be candidate for the vice president of India. But
I don't
BJP government, please mind you, BJP government.
Wow, I didn't know that. Yes.
Yes, he was told by Vijesh Mishra and forget the name, who was the IB head. They went to him and they told him that
Dalot,
whatever name is, right? And he agreed. Sangh and other people said no. So that is why then Alexander came, a lot of other people name came, and finally Abdul Kalam became the president of India. And Bhairavo became the vice president. Otherwise, Farooq Abdullah was supposed to be the vice president of India, and he would have become president thereafter. That is India. That was India, rather, I would say. Whether BJP or Congress, all were alike. All were alike.
We had a wonderful president of the Fakhruddin Ali Ahmad.
Also education minister. Minister.
Yeah, we had Hamid Ansari also. Beautiful vice president.
No, but Fakhruddin Ali Ahmad
said, remained vice president. 2 terms.
Jaydev, bolne de yaar.
You're asking too much from Jaydev.
No,
I told you.
Ramu was
saying something. I'm going to bullshit only from one person.
Ramu was saying something, no?
Yeah, please.
Okay, it escaped my mind.
Sorry. Sorry.
The flood from Jaydev, I'm drowning in it.
I know. I understand. I fully understand your plight.
Sorry.
But my question is, in 89-90, it was a VP Singh government, right? At that time, it was a weak government. But why the government was not strong to take handle this?
Yeah, I can answer that for you, Mukul. Sorry, Ramu. Before
Hey, Razdan, before you speak, did you get permission from Jaydev? The speaker of the...
He's excellent. No, he's excellent. No, but by the way, Raj, let me tell you that there are 3 people who told me that I can replace Arnab Goswami. After looking at me and Raj video, I thought I've never dominated. I allowed him to speak here. Itna space diya maine. 3 people. One is a very good friend of mine, Air Force friend, Gauri Shankar. He was the first chap who told me. Then my dear wife, Manisha. and the third person who supported them is Mukul.
That's funny.
Go for it.
So anyway, no, I was going to say, there's a Rajiv government was there till 89. Rajiv, and during there was the time period between 84 to 89 where Jagmohan was the governor of in Kashmir, and he had done a fantastic job. In fact, he had almost done things all around there, and he was really liked by all both the. Of course, the Hindus liked him anyway, but the Muslims were also very happy because he got a lot of work done there, a lot of things fixed there. Then he was unceremoniously thrown off to a large extent by the pressure from the Congress party, by the pressure from Pakistan of all the places. Like Benazir Bhutto was shouting, "Hum Jag Mohan ko Jag Gaga Moho Han banayenge," meaning we'll cut him into pieces. So there were they were getting really pissed off there because he was the one thing that was coming in their way of trying to Islamize, to make Kashmir.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he was thrown off. Then there's this period between 89 to 90 where literally, all hell was breaking loose, and our the chief minister Abdullah, Farooq Abdullah, was just totally having a gala time there, and he was in bed with all these terrorists. So literally, Kashmir had become almost by January, by the start of January, when finally the VP Singh government had just been brought in, and VP Singh was trying to see how are we going to manage this. He brought in the only person that he could bring in who had some degree of knowledge of Kashmir was Jagmohan. So he brought in Jagmohan there. And Jagmohan comes after 2 days after the January 19th, when most of the Kashmiri Pandits left. So he came up on January 21st or something. By the time he reached Kashmir, and when he came there, he's seeing a complete system which is all Islamicized, which has basically become a mini Pakistan in Kashmir. Even the state police is taking orders from the terrorists. So he's even in that situation, he's sending letters to the Indian government trying to say, hey, I need help and all that. He's getting very little from anything from that. And literally single-handedly, he was able to first of all fix the problem to a large extent, and but I think it's purely because of him. Otherwise, by January 26th, it would have been a Pakistan.
But what did he do? What did Jagmohan do? How did he do it? You have any further insights?
You have to read his book called My Frozen Turbulence. If you read it, you'll see the kind of things he had to do. So first of all, he couldn't trust anything. He couldn't trust the state police. So he brought in the army. He started, slowly breaking the terrorist organizations, and it was a long process, but he at least started the process, but otherwise by that time it was considered a fait accompli that this is already part of
Raj, I would like to add two, three things in this. Sure. Number one, Daulat, what we said, what me and Mukul mentioned about it, he was a J&K IB chief at that time, right? And then he remained IB chief. He was a J&K desk in charge also for about 8 years. What he said, this terrorist should be supported, should be used, should be given the Mehman Nawazi, so that we can use them against Pakistan. So right. that was the type of thing what they brought it out, and that philosophy was followed even by Bajpayee, the way I look at it. Number two, in 81, 82, when Sheikh Abdullah was not well, he was sick. So Indira Gandhi went to Sheikh Abdullah, she went to Kashmir and said that Sheikh Sahab, humko wo Farooq Abdullah ko, we should bring him in politics. Farooq Abdullah was at the time was in England doing doctorate or whatever he was doing it. And then Farooq Abdullah was told that he may become the chief minister of J&K. Before he came to India from England, where did he go? He went to Pakistan. He met the Pakistan president. I think at the time, this step was there.
Ziaul Haq.
Yeah, Ziaul Haq. So he met him, and he said, because at the time they had already lost 71 war and all. So they thought this is a best bet, and if this step comes, then we can have some hold and all. We can carry on a thing. So he went to Pakistan first and then took his approval, took his support, and then came to thing. I think in 83, 84, he became the first time chief minister of J&K, number one. Number two, then there's a called Operation Topaz, which I'm talking about in this particular thing. If you can see the net, a lot of things talk about Operation Topaz. It's a well thought over plan of Pakistan to bleed Indian state for 1,000 wounds because they couldn't defeat us in the war.
That Ziaul Haq came up with the strategy.
86, 87, the Operation Topaz was announced.
Bleed by 1,000 cuts.
That is how the whole thing started. And this philosophy of using this terrorist, Essam Malik and all those Butt and all people for benefit. That is why they were given this all the VIP treatment and all. They were protected by the Indian state. They were given the security. I mean, imagine those things. That when all that was removed after 2000 and maybe 16, 17, 18 and all. Till then, they were the state guests. I mean, that is the philosophy of India. How can you ban the solution of Kashmir?
Jaidev, after you upload this video on YouTube, I think you'll need security.
Ask the CIA to provide it for him.
Oh yeah, no problem. But they won't know what to do. They may kill him.
CIA
is known to botch up a lot of things.
CIA, the lady is in India. What is the name, Mukul?
I don't know. Nalo or
that lady.
I don't know.
The lady who basically instigated Iran change of authority and also Ukraine and all.
CIA is not the right people. Mossad is the best.
Huh?
Mossad is the best.
अरे नहीं यार, अरे फौजी है यार, कुछ भी कर लेंगे, कोई चिंता नहीं है. मेरी बीबी है ना, मेरे so she is capable of handling everybody. No issue. Lot of questions can be asked to the Indian state. Sorry, Ravi, please.
Yeah, so when Raj and I were talking, I brought this up, and let me bring it up here again. Something that bothers me, this whole thing that happened in 1990, like, Raj's parents, they were impacted and so many people got killed and tortured and all those things. And at least from my point of view, I heard absolutely nothing on the news, even here. Now, normally, even a little fight in a mall, it's all over the place, all over the news. So what made the press not say anything about something as serious as this? What do you think happened there?
Ravi, it is brought out very, very well in the movie. Have you seen Kashmir Files movie?
No, I have not seen that.
Please get a thing. If I got a link, I'll send you the link. Normally, I don't send the link because I want.
Why don't you fill me in anyway? What was the reason for that?
See, basically, at that time, that only Doordarshan was only TV available at that time, and the government did not want to say anything about that. In the movie, there's a beautiful dialogue that naked truth. If somebody, Raj or Mukul, if you remember that.
Yeah, the naked truth is better than a well-dressed lie.
Yes, because well-dressed lies being told to us rather than giving the naked truth, because there's nobody else. And in that, there are 4 or 5 friends in that Kashmir Files. They get together. When this Krishna, the son of Anupam Kher, grandson of Anupam Kher, comes to that with remains of Anupam Kher after he dies, because he was said that my remains should be sprayed in my house and nothing like that and all. So he comes there, where all these friends get together. Puneet Isar, and who was a IS officer, Mithun Chakrabarti. No, Puneet Isar was an IPS officer, Mithun Chakrabarti was an IS officer. This chap is a journalist, and the one more chap. So they get together because at the time it was said that all of you also should be there. And the whole thing which gets narrated and explained, the actual position, conditions, and environment which existed at that time. It is so beautifully laid out, beautifully brought out. It's a heads off, and that is why this particular movie has become basically mass movement. It is not
No,
a.
I get that. I get all that. But why is it that nothing was publicized? Like, for example, the people who got out of Kashmir, these were all very well educated, well-to-do
So
people,
I can tell you
at least
about
intellectual people, right?
I think Raj would be a
And-
better person to say.
Yeah.
So let me tell you, in USA, for example,
Yeah.
we brought it up, first of all. I mean, I've
Yeah,
actually,
you did. Yeah, right. You didn't mention that. Yeah.
so
Go
I
ahead.
did, and most of us talked to the Washington Post people, talked to New York Times and all. And there we were met with utter disbelief that you're in a Hindu country. How can that ever happen? It was just like, oh, that's not possible, right? You know, that was the attitude. You know,
In your country, how can you be? Refugee?
right? And you know, we may not think of ourselves as a Hindu country, but everywhere else in the world, India is considered as Hindu India. You know, despite our secular, so-called secular credentials. Anyway, so bottom line, they just thought, oh, this doesn't make any sense. It doesn't, and then on top of it, from within India, you hardly get any news about, you know, because we're not trying to spread that. And all the people, all the so-called people in the think tanks, in the US think tanks from India, are people who are, as Rajiv Malhotra says, carrying the guns for the British here, like for colonial rulers. So you can, if you go to the think tanks in the United States and all that, as an Indian, you only brought in there if you subscribe to their viewpoints. You know, if you're come with a Hindu background and all that, or if you try to give them a narrative which is different from theirs, it doesn't fly here. So that's why you have this whole idea of this whole nationalist movement. To them is they equate it with the Hindu nationalist movement. They equate it with the Nazi movement in the rest of the
Hinduphobia is a very, 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 very well known in USA and everywhere else. Again, let me slightly think, because Shekhar has asked a question. So, and I told him in chat, I answered him because he asked a question: was Abdullah the pawn of terrorists? So that I asked it. I will cover it. I'll answer that. But I want to pose the same question what Shekhar asked on the chat. Was Abdullah a pawn on terrorists? Anybody's?
I mean, my guess is I have no way to know for 100% for sure, but to me, all the things that he was doing point towards that. So
why are you saying, Raj, that you don't have? See, he allowed, he released so many terrorists. You know that. Right. Exactly. He allowed all these things to build up. And when on the day prior to the day it is going to happen, he left the country. He left the country. He allowed. So
I won't say he was a pawn of terrorists. He was actually one of the masterminds of the terrorists.
No, after he came back in 94, 95. And when he came back, what did he do? Even today, 370, 35, what did he say? He said that, actually all of them, all Kashmiri people said that Pakistan, we have to talk to Pakistan. They kept doing that. Number one. Number two, they allowed all these terrorists to be treated like a VIP. They did not take any action against them. Then when it came back 95, even in 370 and 35A, everybody, including Mufti, I mean that Mehbooba Mufti and everybody said that 370 हटा दिया तो Srinagar or Kashmir आपके India से अलग हो जाएगा. The link between India and Kashmir is 370. That's what everybody said. All of them said so. It is there in the open domain. So with all this, and what I said, that before he came to India from London to become the chief minister of J&K, he went and met the Pakistani president.
Not only that time, he has gone multiple times to Pakistan.
Absolutely.
And there are a lot of photographs of him circulating with these with the Pakistani with the JKLF terrorists and all that. So,
96 election when he won. What was his main plank on winning election? Autonomy.
Right.
Autonomy first.
Oh,
and Bajpai changed his mind with respect to Farooq Abdullah when he asked for the autonomy. He came to the center asking for autonomy.
Right. And the other thing is, if you listen to his speeches, he has one tone when it comes to when he talks in India, in New Delhi, when it comes to Kashmir, in Kashmiri, he talks a totally different, so which is completely in Kashmir. And of course, in Pakistan, he talks the Pakistani language. So, and he is getting the best of all worlds, right? Because India is giving him huge amount of money, which he puts in his own funds, and he's amassed a huge amount of wealth, as have all these other big leaders, like Maulvi Farooq and all these other guys. But bottom line is, all these people that India has been petting to try to bring about so-called engagement with the Muslim leaders there have all been used by these same leaders to make their huge amount of money for themselves and to try to, at the same time, continue this jihad that they're doing.
So Raj, what is the attraction for joining with Pakistan, considering that it is a failed state, RB is ruling, economically they are not doing well? What is the attraction there?
The attraction is very simple.
Two-nation theory.
The attraction is pure Islam. They don't. This is the problem with a lot of the Muslims. That in private they'll say, yeah, Pakistan is a horrible state and we don't want to ever be like Pakistan. But when it comes to the Islamic State, and you see all the Islamic states everywhere in the world have failed. There's no Islamic state which is a beacon should be a beacon to any of the Muslims.
That was very clear. When the Afghan refugees wanted to escape from Afghanistan, none of them went to any Muslim country. They came to the US. Why? Go to we're asking this question. Go to Indonesia, go to Pakistan, go to Iran, Iraq, Egypt, Saudi Arabia. If you're so fond of Islam, go to Saudi Arabia. Why are they not doing that?
Before I answer this question, I want to say two things. When you say that why Pakistan, two things. One is a Ghazwa-e-Hind.
What is what?
Ghazwa-e-Hind. Have you heard of Ghazwa-e-Hind? Have you heard of that?
No, I don't explain that. I don't know.
Ghazwa-e-Hind is a concept. See, in 1,000 years, why did they come to India to attack? India was a Sone ki Chidiya, was a 50% of more than 50% of the world GDP was between India and China. India was holding about 30+% of the world GDP. India had the business relations with all over the world, and we used to do the business in gold. We used to give the item and get the gold back. So now, everybody from all over the world, when you say Europe or when you say this, they came to India. European woke up slightly late. These people, because they were nearby and all, they started attack. Basically, our aim was to loot. What did they do? They looted India. When you say India, basically temples. See, the wealth was every temple. Today, that South, which temple is there? There are 7 rooms are there full of gold.
Padmanabhan.
Padmanabha Swami temple in Trivandrum.
Padmanabhan temple. Now imagine.
Hey Jaydev, see, you are ignorant about our own India.
No, 1 minute. Let me come.
That's another big thing I noticed with a lot of people also.
Ramu's mission statement is a little different from what Jaydev is addressing.
No, I'm coming to that. No, I said before that I want to say 2 things. One is Ghazwa-e-Hind. So what they said that if you can, and before that anywhere like if you can conquer India, Hindustan at that time, this part of the Indus Valley, then Islam Janda can be there all over the world. Right. So that is what they said. That is why they came, looted, and tried to establish Islam in India. 2-nation theory comes from there. The second is Ummah, the concept that whether Muslim is or either Indonesia or Bangladesh or India or anywhere or France, anything happens to Muslim is my problem. So even France में वो उसका कुछ हो गया तो इधर भी लोग झंडा होके खड़ा हो जाएगा. So these 2 concepts, if you understand, then you understand why Pakistan they support Pakistan. Number 1. Number 2. Why they don't come to go to Islamic countries? Why do they go to European countries or non-Islamic countries? Because they know 2 things. Again, I'll say 2 things. They know the good life is in a non-Islamic country, number 1. And number 2, the idea is basically to convert that non-Islamic country into Islam country. What is happening today in Europe, even America, there are so many places that the police cannot enter because it is Islamic region.
That's not true.
France,
That's
France.
That's
I can
In
tell you,
France,
I
it
can,
in the
is true.
US.
I can
It is
tell
true
you,
in France.
no, France and Europe is much more true.
In France and in UK, there
Europe.
are no-go zones. There are no-go zones.
France, Europe, many European countries.
Europe ka pata nahi, but France and
Yeah.
UK, I'm sure.
France,
That's the
UK,
That's the first weakness.
Sweden.
The moment
Sweden,
you establish a no-go
Sweden.
zone, that's the first weakness.
Yeah. That's what is
that is why
happening
Macron-
in India. That is what is happening in India
against
also.
it. Macron reacted against it. That is why Macron has become very unpopular in Islamic countries.
I like him.
And if you and I asked this one of question in, I think one of the video, either Raj ka video ke before that video, or maybe some discussion and all. You see, we have about 57 Islamic countries in the world, right? Tell me, out of 57, one Islamic country or one invention this Islamic countries would have done.
What?
Maybe
One what?
One
One
invention. One invention.
One invention. Yeah.
Out of 57 Islamic countries.
Terrorism.
They brought in IT.
That is a novelty answer. I was not expecting. Sarji, thank you. you have bit me hello. You have bit me hollow. Acha, one more thing. Shekhar asked me on a thing. Hey, Shekhar, why don't you speak, yaar? You ask your question directly instead of me telling. Shekhar, come. Hey, you are on mute. Unmute yourself.
Yeah, I was just asking that Farooq Abdullah is probably afraid of the terrorists. So unless he toes that line, he can't survive.
I don't think he's afraid.
Mukul, let Mukul answer. Mukul.
No.
So
नहीं वो ultimately answer तो तेरा ही है ना, तो तू ही शुरू कर दे.
नहीं मैं नहीं बोलूंगा. Raj,
अरे बोलना, come on, don't waste time.
Raj. No, I already answered him. On chat, already answered him.
I would say, I mean, I'm sure you guys can say it better, but I think he's not scared of them. He's actually just working, in line with them. That's the only difference.
but he's a part of them. You mean to say he's a part of them?
No, the way I look at it, he wants to have the base of the both, like India and Pakistan.
Okay.
These are people, Mufti Muhammad, all these Kashmiri politicians, they want to have base of both. And loot J&K.
Do you, Shekhar, do you know that Farooq Abdullah has a British wife?
Yeah. I'm aware.
And his son Omar Abdullah is married to Rajesh Pilot's sister, who they have divorced now.
I think he is now with Didi Razdan.
Oh, he can keep 4, but he was married to the Pilot's sister. He was married to her, and now either they are headed or they have already divorced.
No, that is why.
My point was that as far as Abdullah is concerned, he is not based in Kashmir or in Pakistan. He is based in London. तो उसको कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता है. उसको free में सब मिल रहा है. In free fund for just opening his mouth a couple of times in a day, he is getting so much of honor, respect, money. Who will not take it? When your son is invited all the way from Europe, from England, to become the chief minister, when he doesn't have a political background, who is going to refuse it?
Very true.
Their angle of looking at these things, to my mind.
Somebody behind the TV is on. Somebody behind the TV is on.
I have not
put the TV off.
I have not heard it directly from anybody, nor have I read it. But this is my conjecture. He has no interest in your politics. As far as Abdullah's specific case is concerned, yes. If you look at the general population, then what is there? Ghazwa-e-Hind and unity of Islam, all that holds. But for these Abdullahs, it doesn't make a damn great
Shekhar, if you say Abdullah was, Farooq Abdullah was interested in politics, was Rajiv Gandhi interested in politics? He was not in politics.
And he failed badly.
Rajiv Gandhi, as far as India is concerned, they don't say they failed. His son, of course, you say that is a big failure. That also people don't agree is a failure. He's a young, dynamic, ever being launched youth of India.
He's not that young anymore, man. He's 50 plus, right?
No, he's himself admitted he's a failure. Yeah, he's
People don't
50
agree
plus.
that.
He's
People
50
don't.
plus.
If 50 plus, if people don't agree, that is a failure. People still want him to continue. Anyhow,
So are we drying up
good
now?
discussion. No, not drying up. There are a lot of things to talk about. But 1 hour plus 1 hour and 10 minutes have gone. So I mean, if you want to continue, I don't mind continuing.
Who's paying for the Zoom call, Jaydev? Are you?
Jaydev was
I'm
asking,
paying.
yeah.
I'm paying.
How much is it?
No, I've already paid. It's about 1,500 rupees per month.
Okay.
So it's not.
So is it something you have it for all purposes, or you got it just for this?
Yeah,
No,
Ravi to share that 1,500 rupees. Now you got to.
No.
And
Yeah,
some-
it's true.
you have
You're
to spend
letting.
some-
No, you're
Shut
letting
up,
them
yaar.
go very
Shut-
cheap.
Can you shut up
They're
for a
going to pay my
minute?
election fund. They are 2 crore, yeah.
Can you keep quiet for a minute? Ravi
Yes,
will
sir.
have to come to India, spending his money on the flight to share that 1,500. So Ravi, just relax and take it easy. No big
I'll wait
deal.
for my next root canal.
Jaydev, you have just
Okay.
paid the money for this call only or for...
No. I started with the last thing because 2 were there. I didn't know how to do it.
No, but
once
or
we
you
see-
have, or do you have a monthly subscription with Zoom?
One monthly subscription of 1,500 rupees per month. I use it for my business.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's okay. Initially, I thought Ajay had filled up earlier because last time when a year back or when the Corona time, when we were working, we were meeting on Zoom, it was Ajay's paid subscription. So I asked Ajay, he is not continuing with that. So then I paid. Me and Raj actually had tried it one day earlier, but it failed. It didn't work out. So then I purchased this thing and I said.
What about why Ajay didn't join?
Sunday is with his friends. That is his normal ritual.
Okay.
Sunday is his friends.
Okay.
But I don't know why others did not join. Only we are 7 of us. But anyhow, 7 is not a bad number.
7 is a good number.
I have a question for Ramu. I see a number 501 behind you. What is that?
Yeah, I was going to ask the same.
It's interesting that when the pandemic started, my wife and her friends, they said they will chant some slokam every day. So they will learn and do that every day. And it continued continuously for 501 days. To celebrate that 501 days, So they celebrate, they put a background and created all those things. And of course,
I thought there was a time, once upon a time, there was a soap bar which was sold by the number 501. So I thought you were advertising.
501 bar. Yeah, you're right. You're 501 bar.
So that soap bar, that's all those stotrams cleared their mind and purified their mind, That was the soap for them.
That's pretty good.
No, it's a good reminder to have behind you so that you keep remembering what had happened and how you went through it.
Yeah. So of course for this, it was only ladies. So
that's okay.
I was excluded.
So this becomes 502 tomorrow?
No, it's still 501. We didn't chant anything.
They stopped there.
You stopped.
No, they are continuing. They are still continuing.
Achha, they are continuing. Oh.
They are continuing. So after some time, you'll see 1001.
When you cross 1,000, you please change the number.
Celebrate. No, celebrate. He must celebrate.
Celebrate also.
Yeah. Celebration is there for everything.
Open a champagne bottle.
No, man. It's stotrams and prayers and all those things. Not it's all
Ganga
paisam and all those other good things. Not champagne.
Shivampu.
Ramu, I had another question for you. For some reason, I mean, and I've seen this in all of us Hindus do that for some reason. We always celebrate the extra one, like we won't celebrate 500, but we celebrate 501, right? Is there some special reason for that?
I heard different versions, but in fact, strangely, I was asked this question when I was buying the house by a realtor here. Why do many Indians add +1 to that? So I was told that is part of it is to cover the transaction cost. So when you give 100 rupees to someone, he may have a transaction cost going to the bank, depositing it. And so he has to have a net accrual of 100 and not apart from the transactions cost. So this was kind of, this one was an additional amount that was added. But there, I heard different versions, and in fact, that's one of the problems that I have with our culture or Hinduism. See, in our what has happened in
Sanatan
Hinduism
Dharm, Sanatan Dharm, Sanatan Dharm.
is a lot of these things have intertwined. Social things and religion have intertwined. And so, for example, how widows are treated, all those things, they're all social, not religion. So this intertwining, right, has created a lot of confusion in amongst us also. So that is one reason I heard. Other ones are maybe there, but I don't know. You know. So that's with my mother. I constantly keep asking this, or with if I meet Swamis at Chinmaya Mission, I ask them many of these questions.
It is just like the English. You have the saying, "Baker's dozen."
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
So Raj, it's like the gas prices, right? It's always 99 cents.
No,
that is Bata price. That is Bata price.
99.95.
No, it's always $1.99 or $3.99
really?
or $4.99.
No, Ravi, it's I don't know. Then the gas price here is 569 9/10. That 9/10 is an additional amount. I don't know why that 9/10 is there, and there is no nobody has been able to explain. Talking of that additional one coming up, California, a lot of fines always end up with a one, like 371, 401, 501, things like that, And they have
they might have learned from Sanatan Dharm. No, actually, हम किसको gift देता है 11, 21, 101, 501, 1001. We never give the wholesome number. Acha, by the way, I would like to ask Mukul Mathur one thing. Mukul, you have been absolutely quiet. You unmute yourself and whatever you want to say, whatever you want to ask here, please carry on.
Yeah, it's okay with me. When I was talking about this education system that you were talking about, like why have we deviated so much and not getting back to our roots? I think basically it's a problem with us parents also, that we are not grooming our children in that particular manner. Most of the religious texts are now almost, I don't know how many of us are keeping them at home also. And what the prayers, etc. I have not, visit and the Sanskrit, teaching of Sanskrit in schools. That is extremely important because most of our texts are in that language. And if you talk in terms of medicine, our Ayurvedic products are undoubtedly, they have a cure for so many diseases for which cures have still not been available in the allopathic system. Mm-hmm. But coming to the West, they always want their comparison with the active product available in their system. See, we used to take the roots or the whole plant or the leaves or flowers or whatever. That apart from the active principle used to contain so many adjuvants and correctives and so on and so forth. It was a mixture of things. It was not just one product. So that used to take care of the illness as well as the side effects of that particular thing. Now, if you compare it with an active ingredient, it becomes very difficult to explain. And that is why many of our products they don't take up, they don't match with their standards. So, we have to think in other lines. So, promote our own system.
Why don't we have our own standards?
Hey, turmeric has taken off a big way, right? That is from India, and how the companies here tried to form a patent and how it got defeated.
Even for neem, even for the neem tree.
Haldi, neem and all. Mukul, I've got 2 points to say when what you told. One is about culture and our things. South is different. You go to South. I'm telling you, Ravi and Ramu will agree with me. They are more religious. They teach their children much more than what we in north or west part or the central part of the country we teach our children. I think west and we have forgotten our culture at the way I look at it. But when you go to south, they are so religious. They are very. They teach their children the whole so-called Sanatan Dharm and all those things. Talking about my own grandchild, in school, I did not know this Gayatri Mantra, but he can recite Gayatri Mantra. A lot of things he can talk about it, and he can sing Aarti. I don't know. So maybe the way I've been brought up and all, and today the culture and the school teaching also is different in this part of the world, also country also. But if you go to South, it is much more religious, much more Sanskritized, and much more thing. Talking about Sanskrit, it is said that if you can recite the Sanskrit shlok every day, your mental attitude and mental capability increases.
Yes.
Jaydev, it's a very rich language, actually.
Not only
In
rich
fact,
language, not only
eh,
rich language. By reciting this, it gives you the mental capability. It is not the question of language. It is the question of it affects the body in a particular way that your mental capability increases, makes you more intellectual.
So,
no,
Jaydev,
what
there's a
was the
reason
name
for
of
that.
that person?
See,
Max Mueller. He had translated the Veds, but he did not do so with a
Yeah,
motive
let's
to
not talk about Max Mueller
bring the
translated
essence.
Ved. That is not the correct translation and all.
correct.
Let's talk
Correct.
about the
That's
translation made
it.
by.
So actually, I'll tell you,
The
Jaydev,
problem of
the reason-
ours is that we want to get approval of the white.
Jaydev,
Yeah.
the reason South is like that is because the Muslim invasion did not reach the South.
Less. It was less. It was
Okay.
less. Yeah.
Okay, that's one thing. Second,
Vijayanagram was the thing.
so the Vidyas kind of stopped them. Second thing, let me also tell you,
Vijayanagram.
when Adi Shankaracharya, when they wanted to find out about his date of birth, when he lived and all that, none of the four Pitas at Dwaraka, at Badrinath and Puri had much information about him. They had to finally go to Sringeri Mutt, where they had all the
Absolutely.
detailed
Yes.
records.
You are right. You are right.
And they from there they got a lot of that information. In fact, Sringeri Mutt still has a lot of the original manuscripts of Adi Shankaracharya.
And Adi
So-
Shankaracharya walked down to Srinagar, Kashmir.
Right.
And
In
set up
fact,
the
he
whole
said
thing.
that's the. In fact, in one of his compositions that I recently edited for a book that we are publishing here, he said that is the seat of learning. In fact, Shankaracharya Hill is there in Srinagar.
Kashmir is a seat of learning. You see, this Kashmir.
Razdan will know. Razdan can elaborate on that.
Ramu, this Kashmir Files brings out so beautifully the importance of Kashmir in Sanatan Dharma, right from Rishi Kashyap. And me and Raj discussed this in our video for a very short time. But you must see the movie and see that last, but is that dialogue, that 2-5 minute dialogue. It is the ultimate. It is the monologue. Is beautifully brought out the importance of Kashmir in our culture.
Right.
Absolutely, it is beautiful.
In fact, the Sanskrit word for apples is Kashmir Phalam.
Right. And so,
So in the pujas and all that are there.
Yeah.
It
I was
is
going to
apple
say-
is.
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
So I came to know about all these things pretty recently. About, for example, why coconut is used for pujas, not any other fruit. Why bananas? All these things, right? A lot of these things I learned only after coming here. You know.
Ramo, now with this, let's
Where
have
are
one
you,
video
Ramu,
maybe
these
next.
days?
1 minute. Mukul, 1 minute. Ramu, let's have one video next week. You explain all this and you tell me what you're going to explain. I'll ask you a question. And let's
No,
explain
I'll tell
this.
you.
I tell you, it's very important for us to tell the people what you know, yaar.
No,
Okay.
Ramu
So,
is important.
Raj,
Jaydev.
Mukul, Ravi, don't you agree?
Hey,
Yeah, so I
Jaydev,
wanted to just add one thing to
There's a
what
book.
Ramu just said.
Hey, there's a book called Why Do We? In fact, it is written by Swamini Vimalananda, where she has explained everything, like why we wear a biddi. Okay, not just women, why men also should do that. And about the sacred thread, why lighting the lamp, all those things, she has explained it very nicely. It's a small booklet, very easy to read. It's a must read for all of
So
us.
Ramu, you read all this. Remember
the-
it. I'm going to ask a question and you're going to answer the question.
So anyway, Ramu, I just wanted to add to what he was talking about Shankaracharya.
Ramu, message the name of the book and the author.
Why do we? Very simple.
Why do we? Okay.
Yeah. Why do we? It's a very nice, it's a small book from Chinmaya Mission.
I see.
By the way, I'm very active in Chinmaya Mission, and it was a very big learning place. It's a big learning from me. In fact, yesterday we learned, this whole week we learned Sivananda Lahiri from Adi Shankaracharya. Amazing composition.
Do you remember Swami Chinmaya used to come to BITS Pilani? We also all
Correct. If he
the
came for 5 years.
whole auditorium used to be full here when he used to speak.
Hey, his best joke was about Indira Gandhi declaring emergency, man. We all stood up and laughed so much.
What is that? What is that?
No, he was explaining how when you have the approval and the authority from the highest, things go very well. So when my father was in Delhi, we used to go to government office and some file hasn't moved. He'll say, "Saab, upar se dhakka nahi lagta to kuch nahi hilta." That was a very standard line, in the Kendriya Central Secretariat. Upar se dhakka nahi lagta hai. So he was, I heard this later, but he was explaining this at the Supreme, whatever you consider as God. He was saying, let's say you file an application and then junior clerk will reject it. But if the head clerk says, okay, bring it over, so it moves. And then if the officer and so finally, let's say secretaries, under secretary, deputy secretary, secretary, things go minister, and then prime minister, all powerful, anything can happen. And today we'll stop there. Today we should not go to the president because Farooq Abdullah or Fakhruddin Ali Ahmad has signed the emergency declaration without thinking at all about anything. He says he just said whatever Indira Gandhi told me. So he just said today we'll just stop with the prime minister. We'll not go till the president.
वो बोलेगी तो मैं झाड़ू मारने के लिए भी तैयार.
Yeah, that's what Zail Singh said. I'm ready to sweep, but she asked me to she become the president. So I became the president. Come on, man. Is this how you talk?
Hey guys,
Yeah.
I have to go.
No,
I
we
got
all have to
okay.
go.
We're done.
Almost
And,
1 hour and 25 minutes we are on.
Nice
I
seeing you, Ravi.
really enjoyed seeing all of you
Yes.
and listening.
That was
to all this.
lovely.
Thank you very much.
And how long are you
Yes,
going to
sir.
be alone still, Ravi?
Oh, Johnny is leaving as we speak.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Where are you,
I'm
Ravi? You are in USA
I'm
or
actually
India?
expecting a call anytime now from the airport.
Oh, she's already there? Or
Well, she must be
Bangalore.
just leaving home. So
Chalo,
Where
good.
is she now? Where is she now?
she's in
Bangalore.
Bangalore. She went
you are
for
in-
some religious ceremony in their house. So
I thought she's coming back to US today.
yeah, she's leaving today. Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
great.
Today,
She had a good flight.
today all the flights have started. Today all the flights are normal flights.
Well, she's not coming by direct flight, so it would not have mattered. But yeah, you're right.
But Ramu,
Chalo,
now we have the
give her,
next.
shut up, yeah. Shut up. Give her our regards.
Yeah,
I'll do that.
next.
Hey, wish her a safe flight.
Thank you. I'll do that.
Okay.
See you
Same,
guys.
Ravi, best of
Take
luck.
care.
And
Bye-bye.
have a wonderful day. All of us also logging out.
Thank you.
One minute.
Thank you,
I'm stopping that recording now. So you can now abuse me. No issue.